Hey everyone, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome backpack? Hey everybody, welcome back to RC Inc. Today I'm going to be installing the Revo rear brake kit on my Slayer Pro 4x4. Now, to use this kit, you need to have the Traxxas Revo center differential installed. Otherwise, you can't install it. And also, there's just no point, really. Because with the center differential kit, the brakes only work on the front wheels. So you need to get this if you want to have rear wheel braking power too. So this will allow you to also tune how much brake bias there is to the front or the back of the car, so whether the back brakes or the front brakes activate more, and it just adds more braking power to the car. Also, I should note, this is not designed for on-road use with repetitive braking, and even if you just have this installed on your car, that doesn't mean you have to engage it. So if you're going to be driving this on-road, you can still install it and then just loosen the brake arm or something so it doesn't get engaged. And I'll just tell you guys this now, in case you're trying to do this on a standard chassis Revo. This will only work normally with the longer Revo 3.3 chassis. If you have the Revo 2.5 chassis, you'll need to make slight modifications to the chassis to allow room for the disc brakes to fit. So let's see what we have inside. So of course we have a little piece of Traxxas high quality foam, which is cool. And then we have all the components and an instruction manual telling you how to install it. So if you don't believe me in this video, you can read this. But why wouldn't you believe me? And then we also have all the parts. And so in here we have all the parts, like the brake arm, this thingy, whatever this is, whatever this is. These screws are nice, blue anodized screws. And then we have the brake pads, 3 of them, because there's 2 brake discs. And I believe these are the same brake discs they use on the Jado, so if you need to replace them, you can just get Jado disc brakes, I believe. Alright, so let's go install this on the car. So guys, the first thing we need to do is take out the transmission. And we're going to do that by removing this screw holding in the brake link. So remove that screw there. And now we can just slide out the brake arm. And now we're going to remove these 4 screws here, holding in this black skid plate. And then just pull this off. Now we're going to remove this scrub screw and this scrub screw holding the drive shafts on. And then just slide the drive shafts off. One thing I should note, if the drive shafts happen to fall apart, don't just jam them back together anyway. There's 2 dots here, and there's 2 dots there. So those dots need to be lined up so you can push them back together easily. If they're not going back together easily, something is wrong. Don't try to force it, unless it's really dirty, in which case you should clean it. And this is pretty much the same on all Traxxas models. And then we should just be able to wiggle the transmission out. So on the rear of the transmission with the spur gear, you'll see that this rod going to the drive shafts has an extra hole there. This is for the rear brake kit. This is why you cannot use the rear brake kit without the center differential. So now we're going to take this rod and slide it through that hole. And then we're going to take this X-shaped thing with that side facing towards the transmission so that it can go over the peg, and just slide it over. And it should just fit smooth like that. So now notice there are these 2 holes that are not yet threaded. We are going to put the first caliper over there so that it's aligned with the 2 holes. Then put over a brake disc And yes, it is a little bit too small for this piece of plastic. So you just have to push really hard and then it will fit over, and just a little bit of the brake disc will come off so it'll fit. And next we're going to cover this one with the second caliper and make sure the holes align. Then put on the second brake disc. And then we're going to put on the third caliper so that the holes all line up. And now we're going to put in the 2 black screws included with the kit through the calipers. So what you're going to do is you're going to push down on the calipers gently just until they touch. And then we're going to screw them into those little holes you saw earlier. Now those are not pre-threaded, so the first few twists on the screw might be a little bit hard because that is not pre-threaded. Do not over tighten this, just until the screws are touching the first caliper. Now what we're going to do is we're going to back each screw out half a turn. So loosen it exactly half a turn each one. So now this should be able to rotate freely with very little friction from this side. If there's still too much friction, you can loosen them a little bit more, and if they feel too loose, you can tighten them just a little bit. Now we take this squiggly piece and rest it down in there like that. And then we're going to take these blue screws and screw them into this hole and this hole, and that will hold this in. And again, we don't want to have these screws tightened so much that this can't move easily. And now we're going to put the transmission back in place. Now we can reattach the rear and the front drive shafts. But with the front one, you'll need to align the brake so that these metal pegs go through the holes, go through those little holes in the brake disc. Reattach the 2 grub screws. And now we can put this cover back and screw in these 4 screws. And now we're going to reattach the front brake link with this screw. Now we're going to take off the air filter. Now we're going to take this piece and put it in the last hole on the servo arm. We're just going to put it in like that and then bend it back. And it should pop right in. Then we're going to go back to the servo arm and put this black piece into the hole, just like this. There we go. And now we're just going to reattach the carburetor. And now we're just going to turn on the remote and turn on the truck and make sure there's no friction or anything. And then we're going to apply the brakes and make sure both the brakes are getting applied at about the same time. If you want to change it so that the front brakes apply first or the rear brakes go first, or if there's just too much friction, you can make all those adjustments by screwing this screw here. So if you apply the rear brakes first, it'll make the back end more loose in turns, and if you set it to apply the front brakes first, and give it a little bit of a push. So again, the rear brake kit isn't meant for repetitive starting and stopping. So if you're going to be doing a lot of on-road driving and you want to disengage it, you can just take off this whole bar here that we just installed, and then you can just reinstall that whenever you're ready to use the brake kit again. In those two, there should be as little, and again we don't want to have so much, or the rear brake. Thanks for watching this, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you want to see some bloopers or other things like that, visit my Patreon page. There will be a link at the end of this video and in the description. Thanks for watching.